chaos, rage, conflict. It's all simmering in a pot, stirring a healthy dash of warmongering
Big nations can't bluff.
from inept, power-hungry political leaders, and you've got a recipe that's been handed down through the generations. A concoction of instability, destruction, and revolution. About to blow the lid off the world as we know it. There's no going back. We're deep in it. Welcome to the soup of the fourth turning.
Winter is coming.
Winter is coming.
Winter is coming.
And winter is coming!
No, winter is here. But unlike that show where winter brought a horde of blue-eyed, frozen zombies that was defeated by a girl leaping from a tree with a knife,
Beaten by a girl. What losers. Worst zombies ever.
thank you, Alpha. Our winter is a decaying political and social mess that will spiral out of control, ultimately reaching, usually, a violent climax that will fundamentally change the way we govern and live together as a society. The frozen zombies don't sound half bad right now. But don't despair, because even though we can't avoid winter, we can understand it and hopefully learn how to successfully manage our way through it without burning everything to the ground. Last Game of Thrones reference, I swear. And this book, The Fourth Turning, is one of the best tools we have to understanding what we are facing. Written by Neil Howell and Bill Strauss in 1997, is a deep dive into generational cycles, exploring how history isn't just random events but patterns that repeat over time. It's like a roadmap, helping us predict and navigate the societal changes and transformations ahead. Now, some of you might be familiar with this book and its concepts already. I hope you stay for a refresher, but if you do decide to bolt, please hit the subscribe button, because we're going to delve into lots of interesting topics here. And for all those fourth turning virgins, you're in for a real treat.
We'll try to be gentle.
The easiest and quickest way to grasp the concept of the fourth turning is to envision a full human life as a single year. Think of it like this: an average 80 to 100-year life split into 4 parts, with each season being about 20 to 25 years. These 4 metaphorical seasons shape our experiences and mold our generational identities. The book categorizes individuals into 4 distinct archetypes based on which season you were born in. The prophet, born in the spring, also referred to in the book as the high. This season represents a period of rejuvenation and fresh beginnings. The baby bloomers are the embodiment of this archetype. We'll dive deeper into each of these archetypes in later videos, but for now, let's get the basics down. The next generational archetype is the nomad. Representing this today are the Gen Xers. Born in the summer, their youth occurs during the time when passions run hot, reminiscent of the heated 1960s. The book labels this as the awakening turning, a period often marked by significant cultural changes. Born in the fall, referred to in the book as the unraveling, we find the hero archetype. Today, this role is represented by the millennials.
Millennials, heroes.
Don't laugh, Alpha. Yes, it might not always seem evident, but the stars are aligning for them to embark on their destined hero's journey. The final archetype is the artist, born during the most turbulent of seasons, the winter, which the book refers to as the crisis turning. This generation is often shielded and protected from the world's hardships. Today we see this embodied in the Gen Z children. At different stages of their lives, these generational archetypes interact, sometimes clashing, sometimes collaborating, each propelling society from one season to the next and influencing the ebb and flow of what we call history. The book often refers to this dynamic as a constellation. To truly grasp this concept, let's delve into the current constellation and the millennial seculum.
A circulum is just what the Romans called the length of time, roughly equivalent to a potential lifetime of a person, approximately 80 to 90 years.
That's correct, Alpha.
I know that because Romans were true alphas, unlike today's panty waste of a space.
Thank you. Goodbye now.
Panty waste.
Let's turn back the wheel of time to the last winter, or fourth turning crisis, that began with the Great Depression and ended with World War II, and how the generation constellations were aligned then. Prophets had entered elderhood, nomads midlife, heroes became young adults, and the artist generation was born. During these trying times, the prophet, being the elders, provide guidance, wisdom, and often a moral compass. FDR is the perfect example of a prophet during that constellation, while nomads are the midlife generals, like Dwight E. Eisenhower, managing the practicalities and challenges of a world in chaos. The heroes became known as the GI generation, or the greatest generation, as their collective effort, resilience, and sacrifice were pivotal in navigating through the hardships of the Depression and the horrors of World War II. JFK probably best demonstrates this. And lastly, the artists born in the shadow of monumental events are often overprotected by anxious parents trying to shield them from the dangers of this chaotic, violent time. But as the wheel of time shifts, spring arrives, or as they call it in the book, the high. With the crisis finally being resolved, the old prophets disappear, the nomads enter elderhood, the heroes enter midlife, the artists become young adults, and a new set of prophets are born. People are tired of all the conflicts and want to cement a new, optimistic civic order.
If we decide to do this thing, we can do it successfully.
In this millennial seculum, the pragmatic nomads, now in elderhood, streamline processes, cutting through red tape. They even sacrifice their own retirements, paving the way for the GI generation's heroes to rebuild society. Their joint efforts led to massive advancements: the construction of the interstate system, rebuilding Europe and Japan, leaps in medicine and science, the conquest of space travel, and the establishment of a robust middle class. It was time of such progress, one can only imagine the future of moving walkways and jetpacks.
Walking is so beta.
The artist generation, known during the seculum as the silent generation, played a supportive role to the heroes, aiding them in their societal quest. With conditions so stable, a new baby boom ensued. These new prophets grew up under an optimistic gaze toward the future.
Children are the object of more concentrated thought and concern than the young of any previous generation.
Where mothers could stay home and take care of the children.
Where a woman blew.
No, Alpha, no. That was just the generational condition of the times, because in many ways this high did feel sterile, robotic, and cold, where racial segregation, sexism, and rigid conformity thrived, basically becoming a society of doers, and yet feeling nothing inside. But then, time moves on, and summer heats up. The old nomads who had tempered some of the heroes' hubristic ambition pass on, and those heroes become the elders. The artists enter midlife, the prophets enter young adulthood, and a new group of nomads are born. This turning is called the awakening. As prophets, having grown up in an idyllic but somewhat sterile era, initiate a spiritual revival, looking to reshape their inner world by challenging the status quo. The prophet's mission is neither to build nor to improve institutions, but rather to purify them with righteous fire. And they do. Their demand for civic rights, the end of the Vietnam War, and women's liberation clash with the elder GI generation, the heroes who want to preserve the world they so carefully crafted.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
Meanwhile, the artist generation attempted to bridge the divide, seeking common ground and peace. At the same time, the nomad children often found themselves overlooked. Many became known as latchkey kids, as their parents were too engrossed in discovering themselves. The awakening is often stormy and unpredictable, marked by a loosening of morals and a decline in public order. But eventually, the summer cools and fall arrives, or as this book also calls it, the unraveling. During this period, heroes start to fade from their elder roles. Artists ascend to the leadership role. Prophets navigate the challenges of midlife. Nomads step into the responsibilities of young adulthood, and a new generation of heroes take its first breath. The unraveling continues the fragmentation of society initiated during the awakening, as people increasingly focus on themselves, permitting institutions to experience further decay. However, unlike the awakening, this process unfolds at a more muted, tepid pace, akin to something like a slow-rolling fall fog. In the Millennium Seculum, our venerable heroes, after defeating the Nazis and constructing modern America, ride off into the sunset, holing up in private senior citizen communities to golf and complain about how the young are screwing everything up. The artists continue to relinquish control to the prophets, the boomers, who after winning the cultural battle during the summer, are more concerned with making the best you possible, whether that's spiritual or economical.
Greed is good.
Yet beneath this, a palpable unease brews. The world seems off kilter, and the younger generation will need to step up and make things right.
Now this is the thought that wakes me up in the middle of the night, that when I get older, these kids are going to take care of me.
The forgotten young adult Gen Xers or nomads are deemed and somewhat act as a bunch of lazy, lost cause slackers.
Yay!
So the focus shifts to the children, the millennials, our emergent heroes. Messages ring clear.
I just want to shake some sense into you kids that are using drugs and thinking about using. So remember, don't, or else.
Say no to drugs.
Go planet!
Protect our planet. And in schools, the adoption of uniforms become widespread.
And if it means that teenagers will stop killing each other over designer jackets, then our public schools should be able to require their students to wear school uniforms.
Amidst the rise of protective helicopter parents and everyone wins participation trophies, the prophet baby boomers preach from a pulpit of newfound self-righteousness, permanently imparting lessons from their past mistakes, adamant to mold the next generation into perfection. And that's because
Winter is...
Stop. I said no more Game of Thrones references.
Fine.
But winter has arrived. The artists move on into full retirement.
Unless they're in government.
True, but the prophets are pretty much already in full control as they enter elderhood. The nomads enter midlife, the heroes become young adults, and a new generation of artists is born right when the shit starts to hit the fan.
We're in the midst of a serious financial crisis.
When these turnings actually happen can be debated, but most agree in the millennial seculum, the 2008-2009 financial meltdown marked the beginning of this fourth turning. Faith in institutions weakens to its lowest point. An economic depression or malaise begins to take root as the separation between the haves and have-nots reaches their widest point. Society becomes even more divisive as we segregate ourselves further. Borders are shut down, immigrants are no longer welcome, and the drumbeat of war or revolution begins to grow louder and louder. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Because that is where we're at.
What's happening?
The boomer prophets, still focused on the inner self, are more interested in debating about the current culture.
You wussies!
While the reckless, pragmatic midlife nomads either disrupt industries for society and themselves, or simply adopt a F it mentality and tune everything out.
What kind of power? People power!
And as for our millennial heroes who come of age during all this, they just want things to work and a chance to climb up the economic ladder, even if it means
a better world!
Tearing it all down to rebuild it. It's no wonder that parents begin to smother and protect their Gen Z artist children. It's this consolation, this soup, that will guide us, unwilling or not, to the crisis' ultimate climax. What that is still to be determined. A world war, a civil war, or a revolution, but something will trigger us to create a new governmental and societal identity that will hopefully lead us into a bright and beautiful spring. Now, don't freak out. As bad as it can seem, that's what the series is about. Understanding these turnings better so you can personally live and thrive through them. I know when I first read the fourth turning, it opened my eyes to how I saw the world and how I was raising my own halflings. So where to start? First, subscribe to this channel. We'll be going through each turning and archetype in more detail so you can gain knowledge about these generational identities and understand why your boomer grandparents are scolding you once more about how you just need to work harder. Then we'll provide insights about how we think this fourth turning will all play out and why, and other fun and cool tangents we find interesting. Next, we suggest if you haven't done so, pick up a copy of The Fourth Turning and read it. Neil Howe has also just written a new book called The Fourth Turning Is Here. If you want something a little more up to date, pick that one up, but we still prefer the original ourselves, but either one will definitely help. And remember this, the lone wolf dies, but the pack survives.
Hey, that was from Game of Thrones.
I know, I couldn't resist. Just couldn't figure out any other way to end this. We'll come up with some lame catchphrase later.